Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Today's topic of conversation is how long should you date, or should you a woman or a man date a woman, or a woman date a man before you propose or you're ready to get married? From my thoughts and from my point of view, I think 6 months. 6 months should be probably the goal. And I'm speaking from a Christian point of view. You know, long engagements don't normally work out if you, for people that's trying to stay safe and do it the biblical way. And I'm from the school that it doesn't take all day to recognize sunshine. So if you date a woman and you are going out and you spend time together, you know, after a while, you're gonna get the feeling, is this the person that you want to be married to, or if you just should look for another. With me, within 2 weeks, I told my wife, you're not like any other woman that I've ever dated. And within 2 months, 2 to 3 months, we was engaged to be married. By 6 months, we were married. So it didn't take forever. The other thing that with me also, I dated women that I knew have the things that I wanted in a wife. So if you just kind of dating to date, then that's a whole nother story. But if you dating somebody to marry them, you really want to date the people that fits the criteria that you want for a wife. And that comes from a biblical perspective with me, what I'm looking for. Now I have some other things that didn't spell out biblically, but it's things that I desired. You know, the main thing that I wanted in a wife is I wanted to have the same religious background and be a Christian. So that was number one. And then I had other things on the list. And my future wife, my fiance, the girlfriend, fiance, wife, she fits all those criteria. So I knew that she was fit the criteria, and she's the one that I wanted to marry. So it didn't take all day. It didn't take a long time. And if you ask her, she'll tell you within 2 weeks. I said, listen, you're different from all the rest. You're different from all the rest. And then even though I was young and I had no intentions to marry at that time, within 2 months, I fell in love. And then what are we waiting on? So it kind of went that way. But, you know, oftentimes I see in church where people would date for long periods of time, for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and say, oh yeah, we're gonna get married and this is gonna happen. Then you look at those people later on down the line, and a lot of those people never got married. They never got married, and then it kind of dwindled and things just kind of fell apart. But if you're trying to remain safe, and you know, you don't want to put yourself in positions that you can be tempted. So that's my opinion. That's why I feel that if you're really serious about getting married and a man looks for a wife, then once he finds that wife, it doesn't take him a long time to propose.
You know, I feel that there are a lot of facets that contribute to how long a person will gauge before they propose as being a male. You're looking at a male's thought process versus a female thought process. And most females are groomed, or it is an emotional trait of a female. I don't know what you would define it as being, but the average female who is heterosexual will have the mentality of their dream of having the white picket fence, the dog, the children, the husband, the house, from a little girl up. You know, it may not be your primary focus, but you always have those thoughts. And so we are bred for the lack of knowing if it's an inbred thing or if it's something that's taught. I think for Christian people, they groom their children, so to speak. The females, they are groomed to grow up to say, I'm getting married. And so that is the thought process of Christian female girls. Now you have to look at the whole ball of wax, especially in today's times. You have to look at careers. You have to look at your biological clock. You have to look at financial stability. You have to look at, will this person be able to provide for me when times get tough? All of those things are attributes or qualifications. And you shouldn't just marry the first person that comes to you knocking at your door. You have the Christian thought process versus the secular thought process. Mm-hmm. You have all of those things. And for the female, you know, they say women are from Mars and men are from Venus, or vice versa. But the mentality is totally different. And so the female is looking at, okay, when I am past a certain age, and statistics say the average marriage now takes place at the age of 28.6 years of age. So then you're looking at once you turn 35, the risk of having a genetic problem with your child or carrying a child increases with age. So therefore, the lady is thinking about all of these things. Now, most people today are career driven. And when we grew up, we were taught that we could do both, but we really were taught that for Christians, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, I'm saying this is what we were taught. Everybody's mentality is different. So we were taught that a woman is to stay at home and be a chase keeper at home, tending the children, cooking. She's a helpmate for her husband. The man's mentality is, for the most part, get out there and work. The man's mentality is a helpmate is going to make money. And now we both share the housework, all of those things. So you've got a lot of things that you look at when you are considering marriage. And for a man, I feel this way, not being a man. I feel that if the man is not matured, because they say females mature faster than males, and that's what they say. But I feel that if the male is not mature enough to handle a marriage, he has not settled down, he has not run the streets and experienced life, because a lot of times they want to be labeled as a player. They want to be able to say, I've had 25 women, or I've had 10 women, or whatever it is. And they've got to run that out of them before they settle down and ruin someone's life. And so, because a lot of times they are not satisfied with just having a wife, but they want to go out. And that is not conducive to a sound marriage. You need to be able to provide for your home. You need to be comfortable in your own skin. You need to be stable. You need to be able to protect your family at all costs. It's just so much that is involved in that. So when you look at the woman, you know, she's looking, I know when my husband and I were dating, one of the first things that we talked about, are you looking for a wife? He said no. Well, I said, well, I'm looking for a husband. And I was. And so that was just out front. But I think a big barrier is that women will just settle for whatever and deal with whatever. And they lack self-esteem. And my son is a pastor, and his message for couples is that two halves does not make a whole. You've got to be comfortable in your own skin, males and females, and you've got to be able to be confident in who you are, because tumultuous times are going to come. And, everybody doesn't fight fair when it comes to relationships. And so, therefore, you got to know who you are and you got to know whose you are. And with that being said, the male has to be able to be the covering that God had intended for him to be. And if he is not stable enough, because everybody's going to bring baggage of some sort, whether it's big or small. There's personal items that you can carry on a plane. There is a carry-on, which is bigger than your personal item. And then you can also have baggage that you check on a plane. So when you look at that, that lets us know from an example standpoint or viewpoint that no matter who you are, we've got something that we're going to bring into a marriage. Mm-hmm. And so with that being said, generally it's the females that everybody says bring baggage because we're more emotional. And that's how God made us. So it's a lot of things, but I think for a Christian, if you are practicing Christianity, the Bible says that a man leaves his father and mother, cleave to his wife. The Bible says he that finds a wife finds a good thing. And who can find a virtuous woman? For a price is for a brother ruby, and all of those things. But if you cannot provide for your family, then I think you need to be more career oriented and find out who you are and what it is you want to do and how you want to go about accomplishing it. Because trying to get into a marriage is hard enough, especially if you have no finances, especially if you have no way of even taking care of yourself. How in the world, if you can't take care of yourself, that you're going to be able to take care of family? So I think it's all of those things.
Yeah, and I agree. With a male, speaking from the male point of view, the man is supposed to be there to love his wife, to protect, and to provide. Those are the three main things that a man brings to the table. A man is supposed to give to his wife. He needs to be able to love her, he needs to be able to provide for her, and to protect her. So if a person is struggling in those areas, those are things that has to be worked on if you're going to be a good husband and a good father to your children. If a person is don't have a job, or they don't want a job, or they lazy, then that's the providing part that they're not measuring up to. If you got a guy that don't want to work and he don't have a job, then he has no potential to try to work, then why would you ever want that person? Because he can't provide for you. If he doesn't show the love and show that the companionship that you desire in a husband, then that's lacking there. Why would you want a person that can't love you correctly? And if they can't protect you, if you got a person that somebody knocks on the door and they tell you to go answer it as a woman and go see what that noise is, then that's issues. They're not protecting you. So if they don't measure up in those areas, then that's not the man that you want. That's not the godly man that the Bible talks about. So those are the things. The Bible says that a man should love his wife. It says a woman should respect her husband, and a man should protect, and a man should provide. And if they're lacking in those areas, then that's not a person that you want to try to have a life with. Oftentimes, women seem to just accept things that they know are not measuring up to the godly man that the Bible describes. This person don't want a job. You see a lot of people run around today, they don't want to work. They don't want to work, and they don't want to be that godly man that God said they should be. So if you guide your life according to the way God said you should guide your life, as far as the wife that you're looking for, as far as how you should handle yourself and conduct yourself with business and all those type aspects, then you normally come out pretty good. Now, it's not that you're not going to have issues and problems and challenges through life, because you do. Because basically the things that happen in life is due to the decisions that you make in life. The person says, well, I can't get ahead. I'm always in debt. That's because of decisions you make. Normally, it's not that you don't make enough money. It's that you don't do right by your money. So now you find yourself in a predicament where you got a lot of credit cards and you're in a lot of debt. That brings on more issues within itself. So it's a lot when you go into, as a man, you're looking for a mate, and there's a lot that a woman should take in consideration when she's saying, okay, I accept this person as my husband. Count up the cost. Count up the cost and make sure this is who you want to be with, and that they meet the guidelines according to God. Until next time, peace.